Before the white colonizers will come to Africa, we already knew God. We already had our own religion, which is the African traditional religion. They came with their own religion too. Some came with Christianity, others came with Islam. And though their religion has impacted us positively, it has also impacted us negatively. Just like any other thing in this world, it has its pros and cons, it has its positives and negatives. And it affects everybody differently, depending on how you use that same particular thing. For example, we may say that Christianity is affecting or impacting Europe more positively than negative, which is true, that is true. But it's affecting and impacting Africa more negatively than positive. And this is because we are using this religion thing differently. We are using this Christianity thing differently. In the Bible, in the good word, in the gospel, it is written, God help those who help themselves. This is true. Now I'll give you an example. Before the West, America just recently will go to war. They didn't just ask for God's victory. They didn't just ask for God's grace and mercy to win this war. Before they prayed, before pastors or men of God will come around to pray for the president and the troops who are marching on to war, they already have everything intact to win the war. They have the missiles, they have the nukes, they have the tanks, the military personnel, they have the intelligence and all that to facilitate and win the war. And then after they call unto God for his mercy and grace and for his victory to win whatever war they are marching onto. But in Africa, we won't put all these things in place. We won't do the right thing before asking for God's grace. No. We rather fold our arms in our local direction. Because you the sabbath beden, even when such a demiform. Na empire bon kwa ton siri baba here baba. Here baba emfa hwe ba emfa development mba answer na nyame be shrawo na ese wo so ye bia de ama ho no food for the lazy man, common sense, no food for the lazy man. Eti nyame on top mana emfri ewiem emema wo se e come duguti no abon pae se e come duguti no ato mana efri so ama da bi just out on side ayade ayejuma as na nyame ayade e shra through the work. Same way as development in Africa, we need to put things in place. We need to be on our 10 toes, working towards that, working towards and towards what we want to achieve, the development we want to see, the change we want to see before God is going to bless us, before Jesus Christ, before Muhammad, before Islam, the Allah is going to bless Africa. So, I'm very happy, I'm very glad that one of the greatest leaders of all time in African leadership history, who goes by the name Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso, has this conscience. He has and knows that development is not through religion, but through hard work, discipline, and mindset to attain and achieve and work towards the development and change we want to see. He has made certain statements in a press conference he granted not too long ago, and Mr. Cyrus Annan of Tuntun Network has done a video about it, and we are going to watch it and also react to it and give our own opinions and suggestions. This is new news. If today is your first time coming across this content and you find value in it, please do well to hit the subscribe button, like and share the video. Come into the comment section, come share your opinions, your suggestion, and let's vibe. I go by the name Nyama. Let's get right into today's video.
The biggest TV network in South Africa, which is state-owned, which is watched by about... If we don't move away from our commitment to religion as Africans and seek what can transform our countries, we will remain a third world people for a very long time. National development is not a religious exercise. Development is founded on policies, policy execution, and supervision. Ladies and gentlemen, Traore has earned my respect forever. Traore, ladies and gentlemen, this guy is Joshua. The guy who finally leads the people to the promised land. And whether he gets to live one more day, or dies, or lives on for another 100 years, ladies and gentlemen, he is cemented in my record books as the greatest African head of state I ever saw with my own eyes.
Wow.
And I'm going to give you reasons why.
That's true. I think currently now, the greatest African leaders of all time in African history, number one, and I don't think any other president or any other leader can take his position, is Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. He pioneered this whole Pan-Africanism and all that. He pioneered, we can do it by ourselves, we can do it our own way. He is the greatest leader, African leader on this African soil, this motherland of ours. And secondly, I would say Paul Kagame too is one great leader. I've been following what he has been doing for his country closely, and though he hasn't tapped into the whole African scene, but from what he's doing for his country individually, I think he will be my greatest African leaders of all time books. And we have people like Steve Biko, we have people like Patrice Lumumba of Uganda, right? And currently, Ibrahim Traore is gearing towards that angle too. Day in, day out, he's proving, he's doing things that we can do it by ourselves. We don't need this Western influence. We don't need this Western manipulation. We can do it by our own selves. Upon all the attacks, upon everything that's happening in his country, he's still striving. He's still putting in the work to make sure that his people are comfortable, to make the livelihood, the well-being of his people a better one, to develop the country of Burkina Faso.
I am doing this episode to have it on record that we were the generation that lived through the era of arguably the greatest leader of all times in Africa. And I mean every bit of what I've just said, ladies and gentlemen. We, the people of this era, are witnessing in real time how a leader called Captain Ibrahim Traore defied all odds, having multiple enemies, both home and abroad, on his back. The US government, the French government, jihadist groups, and even insurgencies. Having all these guys on his back, we are witnesses to how they all came together against him at the same time. And yet he managed to bring about the kind of leadership that transcends the standard of his generation. Ladies and gentlemen, I have come to that conclusion. Don't get me wrong. Many of us never saw Nkrumah in his time. But from what we have read, he was the pioneer. Nkrumah was the pace setter. And I have him behind me, ladies and gentlemen, for that reason. He was similar to the biblical character Moses, who brought out the people from slavery. But Traore, ladies and gentlemen, this guy is Joshua, the guy who finally leads the people to the promised land. And whether he gets to live one more day, or dies, or lives on for another 100 years, ladies and gentlemen, he is cemented in my record books as the greatest African head of state I ever saw with my own eyes. And I'm going to give you reasons why. He therefore sits at the same table with Nkrumah, sharing the spotlights as the two goats of African leaders. Now, here's why I say so. Traore is the head of state of a Muslim majority Burkina Faso. He himself is a practicing Muslim, and his compatriots in Niger and Mali are all Muslims. But the man has come to understand that Burkina Faso is home not to just Muslims, but to a multiplicity of people who belong to different religions. He understands first and foremost that there is an agenda to Islamize Burkina Faso and the rest of the sub-region. The agenda is to get rid of the secular constitutions of West African countries and replace them with Sharia laws under Islam.
Interesting.
He knows that
I've heard about this Sharia law and this Islamic law there's a group of people who want to implement this Islamic law in countries in West Africa, like Nigeria, like Mali, like so. I'm now learning that Burkina Faso is also suffering from this implementation or this kind of agenda from this group of people who want to implement this Sharia law. And I've done some digging, I've done some search about this Sharia law, and it's more of like the 10 commandments of the Bible, right? So in Christianity, we all know of the 10 commandments: thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not take thy neighbor's woman, thou shalt not lust, thou shalt not lie, and all that, right? And back in the Old Testament, that was the law that people abide to, right? I mean, the Christians or the Jews, right? And it was so strict to the point that when you are caught breaking off any of that this law, which is the 10 commandments, you are either persecuted and killed or stoned or lynched to death and all that, until Jesus Christ came with what? With a new law, which is accepting Jesus Christ as your Lord and personal Savior, and you'll be saved. No need to you can still abide to the 10 commandments, but it's not like when you break it, instant justice. Nah, you can ask for forgiveness for your sins and all that, right? So it's the same thing as the 10 commandments, which is the Sharia law, right? So, but with the Sharia law, it seems that it's still in existence, right? Like it's something that it's still going on, right? In other, like in some countries, like countries in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, Iran, and all those countries, right? They still abide to that law. So you hear news about in these countries, coming from these countries, where people are killed, people are stoned to death, people are lynched to death, people are beaten to death because they've broken one of these Sharia laws, right? Yeah. So now they are trying to implement this law in Africa, right? And I don't know where it started from, but currently it's something that is known in Africa, like in West Africa to be specific, right? It's something that they are pushing, like there's a group of people pushing this agenda onto West African countries. Like Nigeria, as I said, this whole Boko Haram thing happening in Nigeria is because of this Sharia law. Like part of it, or major of it, is because of this Sharia law implementation in the northern part of Nigeria, right? It's the same thing in Mali now, right? Mali are being attacked on daily basis, on weekly basis, because of this whole Sharia agenda, right? So, as I said earlier, I'm now learning that Burkina Faso is also suffering from this whole initiative or agenda, right? So, let's see what happens next.
Number of Burkinabes who have been sponsored to study the practice of Sharia law in some Arab country so that they will return home to lead the implementation in Burkina Faso. And he being a practicing Muslim, ladies and gentlemen, instead of making it easier with the powers he has to bring about this agenda, he's rather standing up against it. There he earned my respect. He holds all the powers in Burkina Faso right now. He can do whatever he wants, including accepting to replace the constitution with the Quran, irrespective of what any minority religions may say or do. Remember, the man literally changed the constitution of Burkina Faso not long ago. So obviously, he can do it. But ladies and gentlemen, the man just did the opposite. And from this video I'm going to share with you right now, believe me, that rumor some 2 years ago that said that Traore allegedly received an interest, Burkina Faso received an interest from some Arab country in the world to build a certain number of mosques or masjid in Burkina Faso that he allegedly rejected. If you remember, ladies and gentlemen, this video I'm going to show you proves that if ever that incident happened, I know Captain Ibrahim Traore would have turned it down. Yeah, he would have turned it down, like the story said. From the horse's own mouth. Ladies and gentlemen, hear what Captain Traore said to his people.
So before we watch the video, I think we need to appreciate, we Ghanaians, we need to appreciate the kind of peace we have in our country. We need to be glad, we need to be happy, we need to hold it very tight, hold on to this peace that we have in this country in terms of this religion thing, right? Because in Ghana here, Christianity, Islam, and the African traditional religion is the three main religious groups in this country. But we are able to tolerate each other. Number one, we are able to engage with each other peacefully. We are able to live with one another peacefully, right? Yeah, without allowing anyone to feel or monopolizing one religious group for the whole country. No, we accept and we allow everyone to be part of any religious group he or she wants to be with or to be part with, right? So I think Ghanaians, we need to appreciate this peace and this and also continue with this attitude and spirit of what tolerating and living with one another peacefully and gracefully and beautifully, right? Because in this other countries that they are trying to push this whole agenda, the Islamic people thinks that for development, for these countries to be developed, right? Both economically, culturally, socially, and any other aspect, they need to accept this Sharia law, or they need to monopolize or Islamize this state or these countries, which is not right, right? Allow everyone to believe in whatever they want to believe in, but we can all come together and work towards a particular goal and achieve a particular goal, right? So that's it. So let's continue with the video. Let's watch and listen to what.
Les derniers statistiques que j'ai regardé la fiche. Personne n'est au courant de leur sortie. Personne n'est au courant de cette réforme. Les ambassades sont là, sont pas au courant d'eux. Et vous savez ce qui s'appelle la charia, les lois islamiques et la jurisprudence. Personne de ces 800 comme a montré la liste la dernière fois n'a pas un seul métier. Personne. C'est pour venir appliquer la charia aussi. Vous voyez pourquoi c'est bien de contrôler cette histoire. C'est pourquoi c'est la phase importante est devant nous. Ces gens-là, je vais les faire revenir. Celui qui ne va pas revenir, c'est qu'il n'est plus burkinabé. On est en train de recenser. Il faut qu'on change. Si nous, c'est-à-dire vous-même les imams, vous ne pouvez pas former nos jeunes en islam, il faut laisser. Ce n'est pas sérieux. Et je pense que vous pouvez. Et nous-mêmes, nous allons prendre en compte ces financements-là. Que ce soit les jeunes catholiques, les jeunes protestants, les jeunes femmes, nous-mêmes, on va trouver la formule, les traditionnalistes, on va financer nous-mêmes tout ce qui est religieux. Il faut le savoir, tu mets un budget pour ça. Parce que beaucoup de gens sont attirés vers ça à cause de l'argent. Ils reçoivent des financements, ils font ce qu'ils ont à faire, on fait sortir les enfants, ils partent apprendre la charia, et ce qu'ils doivent dire. Jamais, moi je ne vais pas permettre ça. Donc, ceux-là qui étaient là, j'ai entendu des gens dire que non, ils me soutenaient, c'est quoi, si tu me soutenais à cause de ça, c'est même plus me soutenir.
Wow, this is wonderful to hear. This is like music to my ears. And I don't think you could have said it any better, ladies and gentlemen. These guys are not returning to Burkina Faso, he said. And he has also said, and I quote him, I am a Muslim, but everyone in Burkina Faso has the right to practice their own religion.
Facts.
There will never be Sharia law in this country. End of quote, ladies and gentlemen. I've always told you this, that it is the ultimate agenda for what is going on across West Africa, to Islamize West Africa. But now, with the voice of the head of state of Burkina Faso re-echoing what I've been saying, I hope now you don't doubt it. From Traore's own mouth, 800 Burkinabés have traveled to study the implementation of the Islamic law in an Arab country where their details cannot be ascertained, ladies and gentlemen. The Burkinabe ambassador has no knowledge of the whereabouts of the 800. There is no trace of where they are or where they were sent to and how they are being funded. But they left the country, Burkina Faso, with the information that they were going to study the implementation of Sharia law. They aren't going to study engineering or medicine. They aren't going to do anything that has practical impact on the...
That was what I was about to say, that you booked flights from your country to go to another man's country to go and study a law, a religious law, and come implement it back in your country. You couldn't travel to go and learn about engineering or something of relevance what that can help in the development of your country. That can impact your country positively in terms of development, the economy and all that. You left your country. I'll be sad. I'll be very, very sad if it turns out that what's the word? They are sponsoring this whole trip by themselves. I mean, the individuals, the Burkinabés. If it turns out that maybe it's a foreign this one who are sponsoring this whole trip, it might make sense. It will make sense. But I'll be very, very, very sad if it turns out that these individuals, these Burkinabés from Burkina Faso, are sponsoring this whole trip by themselves. I mean, they're traveling to this Arab country to go learn this Sharia law and bring it back to Africa or to their country, Burkina Faso, and what, implement it or push that agenda. I'll be very, very, very sad. And it's the same as Ghanaians or some other nationals of West African countries or Africa as a whole, right? If we are to travel to some country, right, we should be traveling to go with the mindset that we are going to learn something of relevance that we can come back home with and what, use that to help our country develop. We shouldn't be traveling to to foreign countries because we are going to study about religion or even travel because we want to go and do petty jobs, right? We want to go and work in someone's country. We are going to search for greener pastures. Going to search for greener pastures elsewhere isn't a problem or isn't wrong, but at least you should also have that mindset that you are going to also learn something of importance, right? Engineering, medicine, or something, or at least when you go there or get to that foreign country, you should try and learn something about how they live their lives, what's making them develop as a country, as a people, what's making them move on or progress, and not what's the word, retard in terms of development
of their country. Instead, they are embarking on a mission that's taking them between 5 to 7 years to study on how to replace the constitution of Burkina Faso with Sharia law and how to effect its practice. They are studying Islamic law. Ladies and gentlemen, look, the challenges in Africa goes beyond what you may think. The West wants our resources in spite of all that they have already taken. The Arabs want to take away our religious and civic freedoms and ultimately control how we think or perceive things. They literally want to colonize our way of life by using Islam. The Chinese have almost taken control of the supplies that comes to this continent. They will eventually collapse and replace every one of the last local industries in Africa, ladies and gentlemen. Everywhere we turn, there is a country or a group of people or an ideology that wants to impose itself on this continent. All because they see us
looking at them
divided
under
and
all
weak.
noses.
Ladies and gentlemen,
That
Captain Traoré stands up to that. Traoré is truly a man with understanding. His level of self-awareness and the ability to anticipate what's coming is off the chart. And he's not afraid to confront it, ladies and gentlemen.
True.
If he were to be about money and wealth, this guy would have been taken out a long time ago. Or at least his decisions would have been completely different. A 38-year-old man with this level of power, but also with this clarity of mission, is commendable. If you have religious leaders in your country who are locals and understand the dynamics of your country, why aren't they the ones teaching the people in your country about the religion, but rather seeking to study abroad? Ladies and gentlemen, religion isn't like mathematics or science. Religion in most countries in the world is like opium to the people. It's not merely taught as though you were learning any regular subject. It is carefully indoctrinated, sometimes with a lot of fear, into the minds of the people to change the worldview of that person to now act in a certain way, ladies and gentlemen. Therefore, we don't have to treat religious studies as a regular subject. We have to know who is teaching the subject and the curriculum from which he's teaching that subject, because eventually it affects everybody. Traore has committed to sponsoring all religious education in the country so that they can predict the outcomes of the learners. And that's how it has to be for everybody to live in peace. If we don't move away from our commitment to religion as Africans and seek what can transform our countries, we will remain a third world people for a very long time.
What?
I am a Christian and I take it very seriously. But I know that in order for my country to be developed, it wouldn't come from the practice of my religion. It will be because we have put in place the right people who understands the challenges and have ideas as to what to do, and the right structures which monitors and evaluates their performances, ladies and gentlemen. And if these two don't come together at the same time, you can pray till your lungs fall out and nothing will change. I've come to that realization. National development is not a religious exercise. Development is founded on policies, policy execution, and supervision. Ladies and gentlemen, Traore has earned my respect forever. Because of his words, all the people of Burkina Faso will now live in peace under his reign as one people, no matter the religion they belong to. This is what we need in Africa, unity in our diversity. May God grant him protection and strength and wisdom to navigate these treacherous routes until he gets his people to the promised land. I am a witness to it. My name is Cyrus, and thanks for watching till the end. Be sure to subscribe and click on the bell.
Thank you, Mr. Cyrus, for this. And as we are saying, and we'll continue to say, Herebaba, Nyamin talk, man, and free through Ember Mouse, say, GD, because all bomb pies are committed. Darby, would do say, you man, where they will shout, Yamisha do shot, the Ocean, one, and Yamisha the wedding, or also one of them. What you say? I got the name Niama. This is New News, and if you find it interesting, remember to hit the subscribe button, like and share the video. And do well to hit the subscribe button of Tune Network. I got the name Niama, and hope to catch you on the next episode. I'm out.